Welcome everyone, welcome to my trophy review for the month of February. We're going to do something a little different today. I decided instead of going off the trophy logs where you see each trophy individually, I wanted to try something a little different. So let me know if the comments you prefer this method or the old way. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go game by game instead of going through the trophy log. I think this way would be a little better because I often jump between 2 or 3 games. So if I'm in a train of thought about speaking about a specific game and I'm popping a trophy for a different one, it's easier to really articulate my thoughts if I were to go focus each game at a time. However, I can still go to the old method. Just let me know what method you prefer. I think they're probably both equally good, but I just think this one might be a little better when I want to talk about a specific game. But I hope you're all doing well, so how about we get started? This month was extremely productive. I got 333 trophies totally, so that's a decent number. It's even more than the previous month. So it's been a bit of grind. So we've been going at it. We definitely got a lot of trophies, some pretty rare ones as well. So it's been a very, very, very good month for me. So we're gonna start off with puzzling places. Now this game is a VR 3D puzzles. I'm not sure if a lot of you remember this, but in the 90s to the early 2000s, there was often, back then, I'm not sure if they exist anymore, but there were 3D puzzles where you could build like buildings and connect pieces together. When I was younger, I really enjoyed those puzzles. So this is something that I bought a bit of on a whim. I didn't even look at the trophy list. I just started playing. But let me tell you, this trophy list is quite insane. You can see here, the platinum rarity is sitting at 2.88%, which is quite hard. So the reason why this trophy list is pretty difficult is that you have to complete different puzzle packs of 400 pieces. Now, it might not sound like a lot of 400 pieces, but the way that this is done is that the 3D puzzle pieces are so small and they're not really, maybe not the best resolution, the actual picture, so it's kind of hard to like figure out exactly which this specific piece belongs to. So this trophy list is very hard. A lot of it is just trial and error. Like it's going to take you a bit of time to just get a 400 piece. Like it's taking me about an average like an hour to an hour and a half per puzzle at 400 pieces, which there is a ton of them. And part of the reason why this is difficult is that a lot of these puzzles are not just a flat piece. Like it's not just like a 2D puzzle. Obviously they're 3D, but you also have to go inside the building. So sometimes if you're building a house, you literally have to drag a building over your head and then you're looking inside this like little house, which is always kind of funny. It's a pretty hard trophy list. I don't necessarily recommend. The game is all right, but I don't necessarily recommend playing this. It's really hard, and especially if you're really going for the trophies, it's gonna take you a while. I personally can't just play VR games like 8 hours straight. Like it's just too much. I get too disconnected with the world around me, so I can't just commit to a long grind. I do it in piecemeal. But yeah, it's taking me a while. So we will notice here that I did my first puzzle piece in August of 2024. However, I did finally complete over 1,000 pieces here, which you'll see was popped on the 1st of February. And there's a chance I'm not gonna pop the platinum for this. We'll see. I haven't played it much lately, if I'm being honest, but it's just something that I kind of want to zone out and just chill out. I just put on the VR headset and I'm chipping away at puzzles, but it is an insane grind. If you've done this trophy, there's not a lot of people have done this platinum, and if you've done it, let me know in the comments because I'm curious to see if you have any tips or tricks, because there's not a ton of information on this game either, but yeah, let me know. It's a bit of a grind. Moving on, I've already covered this game in the previous videos where I covered a lot of the retro games, but this is the Arcade Classics Anniversary Collection for the Konami games. So I already spoke about this game in greater details in the other videos. So if you want to hear my thoughts about it, check it out. But otherwise, just a great list of collection. I always love to play these compilations because you always have a set goal, right? So if you're playing arcade games, you have a set goal of reaching a certain amount of score, and they're very fun. There's no rewind feature for this game, but you can use save state, so it just makes it very easy. Just get through a hard part, save state, then reload if you die. And then we have Synapses. I've mentioned previously that I have a bit of a goal to go over a lot of roguelikes. It is my favorite genre, so I'm trying to at least like get a platinum of a roguelike a month. So far, I've been pretty successful with that. So this month we're working on Synapses, and as you can see, I did pop the platinum. This game is awesome. I wasn't really aware of this game previously. I think I'm not sure where I learned about it, but it's a roguelike in a VR game. So you have your VR headset, and initially I was a bit scared because I was playing this game, and I get motion sickness pretty often with VR, but maybe I'm getting used to it because after playing this game, I played it for like 4 hours. I could play this game for 4 hours straight, and I could handle it. However, I didn't really push myself because towards the end I did start feeling a little bit sick, so I couldn't play this game for more than 4 or 5 hours. The game overall, it's pretty awesome. It's the way that I see it is that it's almost like a cross between like Star Wars, like in a sense, because you could literally just grab people with your psychic powers and throw them into the water, which is always fun. So the game is very fast paced. You do have to get an S rank, which is not that difficult. To be honest, this trophy list is not very hard. It will take you a couple hours. In fact, it took me 2 days, almost 3 days to get the platinum. Not very difficult. Maybe the total time playthrough will take you about 10 hours or so, but it's not very difficult and a great little game if I'm being honest. It's also very scary. It's one of the first times where and this is not even a horror themed game, but it's one of the first times I kind of got scared playing VR because you have these enemies that are just running at you, and their intention is they run at you and they blow up when they get close to you. So you always hear them, and you hear their sound, and they're coming at you, and you're not even sure where they're at. So sometimes I'm like frantically turning around, trying to find the location because you hear them going for you. So it's kind of scary to just get in your face and explode. So it's not very a horror theme, but the game is kind of scary. And one of the bosses will charge at you, and he's like a big boss. And I don't know, it's kind of the game it's not a horror theme, but I've definitely had a moments where I was kind of had a bit of a jump scare. So, but overall, great little game. I do recommend it if you have a VR. It's not going to take you that long, and you can play, each run takes you about 15 to 20 minutes. So if you could only play VR for 30 minutes or so, you'll be able to do a run and then stop and then try again later. I used to travel often for work, and back then I would bring my Vita and I would just grind some games. And one of the games I was grinding was Jetpack Joyride. And a lot of you are probably familiar with this. This was very popular early on in like the iPhone days. But it's just a very simple game where you're trying to dodge and touching the Vita to either fly or descend. Very simple game. It took me about 12 years to complete this because you'll notice one of the last trophies right here, which is unlocked all gadgets and jetpacks and vehicle upgrades. This game is a insane grind. I wanted to get this naturally because often, like I've mentioned, I have layovers when I'm flying, and I would just sit there and play this game. But I did a big chunk of this game. I maybe grinded like legitimately a third of it. But if you're not aware, you can buy, just like the iPhone, you can buy in-game currency with real money. So since I was a third done, it cost me about 10 bucks, 15 bucks to get the last items to finally get everything upgraded. So I did technically spend $10 to $15 to get this last trophy here. But you know what can you do? I wanted to get it before the Vita store closed. But yeah, apart from that, the list itself, nothing is too difficult. You just have to make sure you get everything upgraded. And the other trophies are kind of naturally, you're going to complete them. So always good to complete a game after 12 years, because you'll notice that I first started playing this in 4th of July, 2013. And then I finished it up February 4th, 2025. And all is good when you complete a game 100%. It always feels good. So I just wanted to do it before the store closed. And I didn't know, one of these days, obviously the PS3 and the Vita store will be closed. So I just been kind of slowly grinding at these games over time. I've mentioned in some videos where me and Blinkoom assign each other trophies in our backlog to go back and clean up. And one of the games he assigned me was Dust: An Elysian Tale. This game, I've played it previously in You've noticed here, October 2014, one of the first big indie releases, right? So if I think back of like when the first big indie games started coming out, I always think back of like Super Meat Boy, Braid, and Fez. But one of the other games that were very popular during that time was Dust and Elysian Tale. In today's view, this game is a bit standard because back then, there's not a ton of games that had a Metroidvania with an RPG elements with quests. But these days, these types of games are very common. So I didn't particularly think it held up well. But the game itself is fine. Like, there's nothing really too bad I can say about the game. It's a fine game. It's just not amazing, right? So if you've played it previously, you might have very strong memories about this game if you played it when it was out. And it's not a terrible game, but it's fine. The trophy list is not that difficult. You do have to play on the harder difficulty, but because the game allows you to essentially stack unlimited amount of health items, you can just spam a lot of the potions. You can just get a bunch of healing items and save up for the harder fights and just constantly just heal yourself. So this is what I had to do for the last fight. I just sold every single item, all the materials, everything, and I just bought as much high healing items as I could, because the last fight is legitimately pretty hard. But since you can carry an unlimited amount of healing items, it's not that difficult. So I just stacked up a bunch of healing items at the end, and we just beat the last boss, which is, again, not too difficult. A lot of you might be familiar with this game. This game was notoriously known to be very buggy and glitchy when it came out, and this game is Ether 1. The concept of this game is very cool. It's a bit of like a walking simulator puzzle game. There's no combat, there's nothing too difficult, but the world itself is beautiful. The graphics look great. However, the game is very buggy. I didn't encounter any bugs. I did follow a platinum walkthrough essentially because this game is known to be very glitchy. So you have to do things in certain orders, right? So if you go to a room and let's say you don't turn on this camera, or you don't get this specific item in a specific sequence, it might glitch out on you. There was a lot of patches done on this game that makes it a little better, but it's still very buggy. In fact, like there's one part where you can load the game and it literally takes you 30 minutes to load a level. So it's not very optimized, and this is why I believe the percentage for this game is sitting at a 10%, because in itself, you can complete this game in like 4 or 5 hours if you really wanted to. It's not that difficult, but just be aware that it's very buggy. And I think that's the reason why this platinum rarity is very high, is because a lot of people played it but never completed it because of glitches. One cool thing about this game is that you can teleport anytime to a location that's centralized, and you can bring items with you with this in this location. So the idea is that you want to bring certain items and then teleport to other locations using these items in this room to solve puzzles. However, like I've mentioned, the game is a bit glitchy. At one point, I teleported out to the hub world, and then I went back to the level, and I was clipping through a wall. So just to give you an idea how the game is a little bit buggy. So, just a tip, if you were to play this game, maybe consider moving out on the outskirts of the walls and just making sure you're in the middle of the room when you're teleporting around. Next up is a game that I've been wanting to play for a long time called Pepper Grinder. This came out in August of 2024. It's a game that I bought and I've really wanted to play. So I decided, you know what? I love 2D side-scrolling games, and this one in particular looked really fun. I did a bit of research on this game, and when it first came out, the creators wanted to make a game where it was a fast-moving game, and they often refer to Echo the Dolphin. So if you've played Echo the Dolphin on the Sega Genesis, when the best part about the Echo Dolphin game is when you're jumping out of the water and you're going back in the water, is the feeling of control is very satisfying. In this game, it's essentially that game. It's like Echo, but it's actually like a platforming game. So you're drilling down into the ground and then jumping up, and you're having the same sensation you did when you played the Echo games. It's a lot of fun. The trophy list is not too difficult. You do have to get gold time. I always appreciate a game that forces you to speedrun. In this game, it definitely does. There's some collectibles. There is some speedrun gold medals. It's not that difficult, to be honest. There is an accessibility feature that allows you to slow down the speed of the game at about 50%. It makes it so when you have tight platforming sections, you can really concentrate and focus and make sure you nail your trick shots. So it's not that hard. I completely ate this game up. This is not something that I often do, but I did platinum this game in 9 hours, and that includes like a 3-hour break, which is a shame because if I look at the 100% completion, I am the second. It's a bit off screen here, but you can't see it, but I am the second fastest achiever with this game at 9 hours and 32 minutes, and number one was 7 hours and 33 minutes. So I think I could have, if I didn't take that one break, I think I could have been the number one. I really recommend this game. Not hard at all, just a joy to play. I will say that the weakest part of this game are the boss fights. I actively disliked the boss fights, which is a shame. Everything about this game is honestly a 5 out of 5. The music, everything is perfect, but the boss fights are, they're not fun. The game is really designed well for speed and momentum. So when you get to a boss fight, they kind of remove that. There's no more speed, there's no momentum. You just have to make sure you hit the boss in certain areas. So it's a bit of a shame. You know, I still recommend this game, but I'll be honest, the boss fights were really disappointing. I've mentioned a few times that I've been really focused on getting a lot of the online trophies for older games in my trophy log. So one of these games was for Virtual Fighter Final Showdown on the PS3. This is a game that I started back in 2012, as you can see right here. And I went back, boosted with some people, and we got the 10 ranked games, which was finished on February 11th of 2025. So the list is not that hard, and you can still pop these online trophies. They must be peer-to-peer or something, but great game. Some of the harder challenges maybe are the licensed challenge modes, but they're not difficult. I'm not a professional, or I'm not very good. I'd say I'm average with fighting games, and I didn't really struggle. There's maybe a couple tests I struggled with. I had to restart a few times, but there's a very powerful combo, which I'm sure I'll have gameplay rolling right now, which you'll see. You just have to, the AI is not very good, so you just have to spam the same move over again. It reminds me, if you've played Street Fighter 4, back then, one of the easiest way to cheese the AI was to use Zangief and just spam Lariat. For some reason, the AI couldn't adjust to it, and you would just always get a hit. So same idea here. There's a couple characters that are broken. However, not a hard list. Great little game. I'm not a big Virtua Fighter fan, but I'll be honest, I really enjoy Virtua Fighter 5. So it might just be that I didn't enjoy the Virtua Kids or the Saturn games, but maybe I'm a fan. I just didn't really consider it, but I really enjoyed Virtua Fighter 5. Great game. Really recommend this trophy list. Very easy and nothing, nothing too hard. Unfortunately, there's no platinum. It's just 100%, but can easily do this in a couple hours. Another game that I went back to clean up is called Sports Friends. I have a lot of games that are party themed games in my list that are a lot harder to clean up because they require multiple controllers, multiple people. But honestly, almost every single trophy this list, you'll notice, they're all around 5 or even sometimes sub 5%. I don't necessarily go for, out of my way to get ultra hard rares or rares to boost my percent or rarity percent. I don't do that. I only go for, I just play the games that I own. But this is something that if you're considering, if or you're caring more about the rarity percent, this game is fairly cheap. In fact, it might even be free. I'm not sure. But this is very easy to boost. It will take you a couple hours. You do have to change your time on the PlayStation. So you'll notice here that one of the trophies is to pop on Boxing Day, December 26th. So I did have to change, obviously, the time on my PlayStation to pop it. But it would have been cool to pop those trophies actively on those dates. But, I had to do what I had to do. There's also this game right here, Bari Bari Ball. It is a clone of Super Smash Brothers. It's very simple, like, 1 or 2 buttons. But if they take the idea of Super Smash Brothers, you have a stage and you got to fight each other and then knock the opponent down the stage. It's really cool. I really like this game as a party game. So if you're, like I've mentioned, if you're in the market for a party game, I really recommend this. It's a lot of fun. As much as I'm a big fan of roguelikes, another genre of games that I really like, I haven't been playing much of these games, but action RPGs, Diablo clones, whatever you want to call them. I am a big fan of grinding these types of games. They're just a lot of fun. I grew up playing Diablo 2, and it is one of my favorite games of all time. So when I first picked up the Vita, I definitely picked up a game called Dungeon Hunter Alliance. The game is fine. It's not great, it's not terrible. I would say it's like either average for an action RPG or slightly below. But the trophy list does have a lot of online trophies, so I decided, you know what? I gotta go back and clean up a lot of these trophies. So right here, we got a trophy called United We Stand. Complete the game in a four-player multiplayer game on any difficulty. So I went back and got the platinum. I went back and got this trophy, not the platinum, not yet anyway. The trophy might sound harder than it is, but if you have a save file right before the last boss, you can just load up, you can just invite some people, and they could even be lower level. You can just invite them to your party, beat the last boss, and then that's it. So you don't actually have to play the entire game, so just something to be aware of. But I'm very happy I got all the multiplayer trophies. There's another one where it requires to resurrect your teammate like 20 times. I did that as well. So at this point, this trophy list is safe to complete offline, which is always a great feeling. You know, whenever you get all the multiplayer trophies, even if it's a game you're not really anticipating playing anytime soon, but it's just a great feeling just completing all the multiplayer trophies for a certain game. Something very cool with this trophy list. Let me see if I can find it right here. So this is kind of maybe a spoiler of the boss, but I mean, it's not really a good story. So, but one of the bosses is called a Dark Fairy in the game, and you have to beat the boss without taking any damage. So you might be thinking that's pretty hard, and it's actually kind of hard, but there is a way to cheese it in multiplayer. So what you can do is the fight itself starts off with you just have a bunch of ads. So if you intentionally die to the minions before the boss is spawned, and then you have your partner, so it's best to do this with two people. You have your partner solo the boss while you're dead, obviously making sure you die to the minions that were spawned before the boss fight, and then you have your partner that kills the boss, and then he resurrects you afterwards, and then there's a portal, right? So as soon as you kill the boss, there's a portal that spawns, and going through that portal is where it does the check to see if you've been beating the boss or not. So what you got to do, die to the ads, die to the couple minions before the boss fight, have your partner finish the boss, kill the boss. They can get hit as well. They don't have to play perfect. They resurrect you, and then you go in the portal, and it will register that you've beaten this boss without taking any damage. So that is the trick for this trophy, and I really recommend if you do have this trophy list. It's doable in solo, but it makes it so easy to do in multiplayer. So definitely make sure you boost these trophies. Who knows? This is on the Vita. I'm not sure if they're peer-to-peer, but who knows when these servers will just get shut down. So I went back, cleaned it up, and now we just have a bunch of single player. This is a very long trophy list. It's sitting at 6%, but you have to beat the game. You have to beat the game once with every single character. So it's a bit of a grind, and you also have to beat the game on legend difficulty, which is really hard. So bit of a grind, nothing too bad. There is some missable trophies which I didn't unlock, which is have a conversation with every single character. But if you follow a guide, it's honestly not too bad. It's just very time consuming, but who knows? Maybe I'll get the platinum soon. And then finally we go to the Lego Movie, the video game. And I am not a big fan of this game. I don't like to talk too negatively about games, but this is easily one of the worst games I've played in the last 2 to 3 years. I first played this, I'm not sure if all of you remember this, but when the PS Vita TV came out, which was like a way to play Vita games on your TV, but in HDMI, they released this physically, obviously, but they had a voucher code in the box for this game, which was free if you bought the Vita TV. So, I'm a big, I'll be honest, I enjoy Lego games, but I enjoy them with co-op with my, my girlfriend. They're very fun to play with someone in co-op. Playing it solo, I personally find it very boring. So this game, it might just be because I normally play them co-op and it wasn't fun, but the format of the levels are different, and honestly, the game is kind of hard. Like, if you fall down the stage, you have to restart the whole stage. Normally in a Lego game, if you fall down the stage, you can just respawn, you just remove hearts. But in this case, if you fall or you die, you just have to restart the entire stage. I don't remember Lego games being this difficult. So I had to restart stages over and over. It's just it's a bad game. It's also very not well optimized. This game constantly is crashing. I've had this game crash like, 50 times playing it. And it's a port of the 3DS game. So if you've played the 3DS game, this is the same game. I just wasn't a fan. I'm sorry. If you like this game, I don't like to bash games for the sake of bashing, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this game, but it's just not, it wasn't great, and I'm really happy to just get it done, so I don't even have to think about this game anymore. So something a little more positive, one of my favorite games of all time, Overcooked 2. I love the Overcooked games, and I wish that we had Overcooked 3. Please, I am begging, I want Overcooked 3. So me and my girlfriend, as I've mentioned, we play a decent number of co-op games, but one of our favorite games to play co-op is Overcooked. We've already beaten the game together in Platinum, but there was a ton of DLC trophies that we didn't get to. So a lot of them you can see that I've done in 2024. But some of them we started playing in February. So you'll see here that we completed Camping's Cook-Off on February 15th. And a lot of these trophies are not that, I mean, they're actually kind of difficult, if I'm being honest. But she's really good at this game, and she's very, very, very good. And I'm not bad as well, but she is definitely the MVP. And when we play, it's just a lot of fun. Honestly, I love Overcooked so much. I can't get enough. I wish there was more DLC. Every time we get to play, I'm always looking forward to it. But we finished off getting 3 stars on every level on the Cook-Off world. And then we started playing the Night of the Hangry Horde. And let me tell you, this specific DLC is so good. It's basically a clone of those Call of Duty zombie games where you have zombies that are at the door. There is a Hangry Horde mode, which basically monsters are trying to get into the kitchen, and you have to shutter the windows, repair windows, unlock shortcuts, spend money. It is so good. Honestly, I'm not sure, if you've played all the DLC, let me know what your favorite is, but the Hangry Horde, the Night of the Hangry Horde, oh my god, it's so good. It is definitely easily the best DLC. I personally wasn't a major fan of Camping Cook-Off. It was kind of annoying. The mechanic for this DLC is you have backpacks, and each player has a backpack, and inside those backpacks you have items. So it's almost like you got to go see your partner, take out the items from the backpacks. I just don't like that mechanic personally, so I didn't love this DLC. I mean, it's still amazing, but I didn't love it as much. Surf and Turf was all right, it was pretty good. But I'd say the least favorite one is definitely Camping Cook-Off, then Surf and Turf, and finally Hangry Horde. Oh my god, this DLC here, we haven't completed it yet, so we've got, World 2, World 1 done, so I haven't done World 3 yet. Who knows when we'll do it? Probably very soon, but it is so fun. I really recommend it. Apparently this is a pretty difficult trophy. It's like survive all the Horde stages with full kitchen health. Apparently it's one of the harder ones for this DLC, but so far we've done, I think there's like 6 of them. We've done like 4 of them, and it hasn't been too difficult. So, but what a masterpiece. I don't have the in Overcooked 1, there's no platinum, and I haven't even done 100% of it, so I'll go back and clean up Overcooked 1 once we finish all the DLCs for Overcooked 2. And then what we were going to do is immediately go to the Overcooked All You Can Eat edition. So normally I don't go multi-stack, but in this case I just love the game so much that I wouldn't mind to replay both games in a single package. So, but phenomenal game, absolutely recommend it. And shout out to my girlfriend. She's good at these games. So, but I really, 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 really like this game. Moving on to Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe. So, like I've mentioned, I've been really focused on going through my backlog, and it's sometimes always fun to just play some indie games in between longer experiences. So, I finished Pepper Grinder, and I was like, you know what, I'm still in the mood for a 2D platformer, and I started playing Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe Edition, which has a platinum. The game itself, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not like a massive fan of the show. I used to watch it a lot back in the day, and I don't really watch the newer episodes, but I thought the game was just okay. It wasn't great, and there's a new one that's coming out that looks better in my opinion, but It's almost like a flash game. And it's not, like I said, it's not terrible, but I've often had glitches where I was clipping through the floor and it was just kind of like a bit of an unpleasant experience. So I don't really recommend it unless you're like, you know, a hardcore 2D platforming fan. And the trophy list is harder than what this percentage seems. So if you look at the platinum is sitting at a 21% basically. And you might be thinking, oh, that's not that hard. But some of these trophies, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I was gonna say I'm kind of surprised that it's, you know, so common. But if you're going out of your way to play Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2, you know, the game itself, then, you know, I shouldn't be surprised that most of these people that play these games are probably very good at 2D platforming because they're a fan of retro games, right? So you have the hardest trophy is right here, right? This one right here, Perfect Nerd. There is another trophy right here at the bottom, which you can't see, but beating every single stage on perfect, so you cannot die. Some of these stages at the end get like very difficult. Some of these later levels really lean into like the sort of like the meme aspect. So you'll have like blocks that are just flying across the room that are intention, like, you know, they're trying to kill you. So it's pretty difficult, and to perfect every single stage is not, you know, it's not easy. So, you know, a fine game. I would say I rated like a 3 out of 5. If you're a fan of this property and you love 2D platformers, then definitely play it. But if you're not a fan of 2D platformers, then don't go out of your way to play this one. And then we move to Power Washing Simulator. Oh my God, I love this game. Now, you know, I like this game a lot, but I'm thinking if I were to just solely focus on this game and play it from, you know, it took me 2 years to get the platinum. But if I were to just play this game from start to finish in like in short bursts and not play other games at the same time, I would actively dislike this game, I think, because it can get kind of boring, right? You're doing the same thing. But I really found this game to be very almost therapeutic and very relaxing at times when I needed to just kind of wind down for a night, or I just needed to chill out. It was just the perfect game to play for a couple hours if I needed to, or hell, even sometimes I play for 30 minutes, just power wash as much as I can, or as much as I wanted to, then close the game and then went to something else. So I really, really recommend this game. The platinum is not that hard, and it's crazy that it's sitting at 12%. I guess it's a popular series, so I shouldn't be too surprised, but the platinum difficulty is not too hard. You do have to do a gold star challenge, which is probably the hardest one. And there's another one right here. I'll highlight it to you when I find it, but right here, this job. Clean 95% of any job without completing any task. There is thankfully a very easy level to do this. It's not easy, but it's easier. And it's just like a giant fist. It's a statue. And you just have to clean the fist without, you know, finishing off a knuckle or a fingernail or anything like that. It's not that difficult, but it's just kind of stressful when you're doing his one accidental spray too much and you might push completing an object. So just be aware. But great game. Loved it. I'm very happy that we're getting Power Washing Simulator 2. I'm definitely going to pick it up. Maybe not like day one, but listen, I'm a big fan of this series. It's just the perfect game to unwind, and I really recommend it. So we got the platinum here in February on February 9th. And if you scroll down, the reason why this is sort of later to the level is I went back and played a lot of the DLCs. Something weird about this game is I often just had every single DLC wish listed and just waiting for a sale, right? But these DLCs, they never go on sale. The deepest discount you'll get is 25%. I was hopefully, you know, I was hoping that we'd get 75% off on these DLCs, but honestly, the best that you can wish is 25%. And I've waited for a while before playing it. Whenever it comes to, you know, I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but whenever it comes down to having licensed DLC, I'm always a bit cautious, and sometimes I would almost buy them sooner rather than later, because obviously if it's a licensed property like SpongeBob in this case, you'll never know when there is going to be a license fee that expires and then they have to pull the DLC from the store, right? It might not be worth it for them to renew the license. So it's just something to keep in consideration whenever I play these licensed DLCs, that you'll never know when they pull it from the store. So yeah, so we went back. Again, the game is pretty self-explanatory. You're spawning in a level. Things are dirty. You got to clean them. That's it. You just hit the one of the D-pad arrows and it shows you everything that's dirty. Just erase that. So essentially it's very, very simple, but very relaxing. we went back, we you know, cleaned up we finished the platinum, then we went over and played some of the SpongeBob DLC. I'm not a, you know, I've never really watched the show, so I'm not like a massive SpongeBob fan. I know what it is. It was very popular, you know, when I was younger, but I just didn't really, you know, maybe I was a little too old for the show, so I never really watched it. But I know the characters, and I obviously know, like, you know, Patrick and these characters. So it didn't really, you know, was not really significant to me, but I still enjoyed going through the DLC. There's a lot of fun stages. Also, the artwork and the art style is, you know, they really mimic the show, so it's kind of fun to go back in that world. Another DLC we went back to clean up is Back to the Future. If I'm being completely honest, and this is, I'm not a big movie fan. You know, I maybe in a year watch 4 to 5 movies. So I've never seen Back to the Future. So I didn't really have any, you know, I never really understood a lot of these references in this DLC, but it was really cool. I mean, it's some fun levels, nothing too crazy. Just, you know, also that last level where it's a train level, that train level is so difficult. There's so many nooks and crannies that are hidden. But overall, fun DLC, just like the SpongeBob one. I really enjoyed it. Even though I didn't really have any strong connection to the property, I still enjoyed doing the DLC. And finally, we have Warhammer 40K. If I'm being honest, this was the worst DLC. This DLC is kind of bad because, again, I'm not a you know, I understand what Warhammer is, but I'm not a massive Warhammer fan. So a lot of these, you know, you have to clean up these tanks and these vehicles and these mechs, but if I'm being honest, everything kind of looks the same, you know? So you got to clean these 2 different tanks, but they just kind of look the same, or this giant ship. So I didn't really like this DLC, and this DLC is very hard. A lot of these tanks are like, they have like nooks and crannies, and like, you know, you have to clean the tracks of the tanks, and it's like there's so many like rivets and angles, and it's just such a pain to do. So it's definitely my least favorite. So if you wanted to have a recommendation on which DLC to play, pick between SpongeBob and the Back to the Future. I particularly didn't really like the Warhammer, but because I'm a trophy hunter, I got to go do it. And then we go to Alice in Wonderland. I did a few. I haven't really done it, but so far I've only done one level, and it was pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to playing these last 2 DLCs, and who knows, maybe we'll have more. I do wonder, with the announcement of Power Washing Simulator 2, will there be more DLC for this game? But there's, you know, just be cautious. There's a ton of DLC for this game. Recently, I played my first visual novel game on the Switch called Emio the Smiling Man. So it was a bit of, and I really enjoyed it. So it was my first visual novel. I really enjoyed it. And I was a bit out of a mood to play some visual novel games. And one of the games on my backlog that was there the longest was 13 Sentinels. Now, I enjoyed this game, but I didn't necessarily love it as much as other people. I still think the artwork and everything about it, the story is incredible, but I just think it's very long. I'm not going to scroll down because it's very hard to talk about this game without avoiding spoilers. And also, I will roll some footage, but just be aware, this is, you know, something that applies to all my gameplay that I show on the video, is that I have a golden rule not to show anything past the first 30 minutes. So you will not get spoiled. You will not get spoiled anything on my videos. Do not worry about gameplay. I just always show the first 30 minutes. But yeah, so I went back and started playing 13 Sentinels. It's a very long game. Like this, it's almost, in my opinion, maybe a little too long. Like, I mean, the story is like the story is like a 10 out of 10. Like it's really, really complex. You really have to think about the story. It's hard to talk about without spoiling anything. So I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about it, but you know, I would maybe not recommend this game as your first visual novel. It's very dense. Like it's very dense. So maybe play something else. But maybe I would appreciate it more if I was more of a veteran for the visual novel series. But I just think that it lacked a bit of like little gameplay elements. So I still think it's a worthwhile game. I still enjoyed it. I rated it, I think, like a 4 out of 5. But it just didn't like it as much as other people. But it's still a good game. It's still a lot of fun, and like I've mentioned, the music, the story, the art, like the visual of it is breathtaking. It's Vanillaware, so anything they do like art-wise is beautiful. But decent game, just didn't fall in love with it.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important emergency broadcast. A large, unidentified object has crash-landed in the city. It is headed north toward Kasumijo, destroying everything in its path.
And then we move on to Far Cry 4. So you'll notice that I've already got the platinum in 2015. So this was done a long time ago. However, I never finished the DLC. So something I like to do is I always in my wish list, I add a bunch of DLC of games that I haven't done. So this was on sale, like 75% off, a couple dollars, so it wasn't too expensive. So we went back and completed Valley of the Yetis, which was all right. I mean, it's a Far Cry game, so there's not much more context. If you've played Far Cry games, you know what they are. There's nothing new to it. This game is, there's obviously going to be Yetis. Something that it kind of does cool is that you have this home base, right? So the way to progress the story is that you get to this relay station, and you want to defend the relay station. So every night there's going to be attackers, so you have to hold the fort essentially, and they're trying to blow up the relay station to prevent you from escaping the Valley of the Yetis. But you almost have to go in your base and like do these side quests, get some resources, then go back to your base, upgrade your barricades there, maybe add a turret. Like you can actually like buy an upgrade to have like a mounted turret gun here. It's a fun game. Like if you've played like I've mentioned, if you played the Far Cry games, you know what to expect. I wouldn't necessarily suggest going out of your way to play this Valley of the Yetis. It's fine. It's like forgettable, but nothing bad either. It's just average. So yeah, always feels good to go back, clean up these trophies, and at this point we got another game that's 100% done, which always feels good. And then finally for our last game, we have Puyo Puyo Tetris. And like I've mentioned, I kind of we got a lot of trophies, so 333 this month, which is a lot. And I'm always thinking about going back to my game list and trying to look at trophies that I have, online trophies that are not completed. So one of them was the Puyo Puyo Tetris. I remember trying to do this when this game was first released, because I did buy this game. I'm a big Tetris fan. I'm not a big Puyo Puyo fan. For some reason, I'm pretty good at Tetris, but my brain can't just wrap my head around Puyo Puyo. And this is where, again, I got to shout out my girlfriend. She's grinding those Puyo Puyo levels for me. So I got her to play these Puyo Puyo levels that I just can't beat. I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to get the platinum here, because it requires you to complete the story at 100%. So get 5 stars on each stage. And if I'm being honest, I don't think I'm good enough, because I can't do the Puyo Puyo, so I have to rely on her to do it. And I don't want to force her to grind for hours, for just a stupid trophy. Maybe I just got to learn Puyo Puyo and get better, but I've tried it, and like it's just maybe the way that my brain works, and I cannot like get good at Puyo Puyo. It's such a hard mode for me that Tetris, I feel comfortable. I could get 3 stars on every single Tetris level, but Puyo Puyo, forget it. It's gonna be hard. But yeah, so we have these online trophies here that were Puzzle League. So these are what was captured at the end of February. So just winning Puzzle League match, nothing too hard. And there's the 100% completion on the adventure mode, which I don't know if I'll ever do, but I just went back and completed the Puzzle League matches. Nothing too hard, just boost someone online. There's no one playing right now, so you just have to boost with randoms. But yeah, always good idea to go back and clean up your online trophies. But yeah, that'll do it. That'll be my conclusion for the trophy review of the month of February 2025. I hope you appreciated the level. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you prefer this format, right, where I go game by game. I think it's a little easier to explain and maybe focus on my train of thoughts. But if it's something you didn't like, if you prefer the other method, let me know. And if you're indifferent, then let me know as well. So I really appreciate you all watching. Let me know what games you've been playing. Let me know if you've been platinuming or grinding any trophies. And I appreciate all of you. You can catch me live on Twitch. I stream now Mondays and Tuesdays, starting at around 8:30 Eastern. So if you're ever curious, I do play a lot of retro games on Twitch, so it's not going to be any platinum trophies or any trophy grind. But who knows, if you folks would like to see some trophy grinds, then let me know. But I appreciate all of you watching. It really means a lot, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.